Train the muscles, not the joints. So welcome back to another Natural Gallant Bodybuilding Q&A. And this is Friday, I think. Yeah, Friday. It is freezing outside. Freezing. I know I keep complaining about this, but man, it is freezing outside. I almost feel like I should be giving you some sort of accent and saying I'm from the Great White North or something like that or whatever. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to get on with the Q&A here. So I'm going to go through the comments and answer your questions as best I can. And if I don't answer your questions, most likely I'll actually have a video coming. So just remind me and I'll actually make a video for you, okay? So Friday Q&A, I try to get as many questions answered, but you know, sometimes I'll actually make a video because some of the subjects you guys are bringing up are actually really good. So just bear that in mind. So Dan the Guitar Man asked me, how important is it to increase your strength when you lift? And he says that some bodybuilders say they don't care how much weight they lift, and then he says the other powerlifters he sees, sometimes they don't have much of a physique, but they're lifting a huge amount of weight. And I've talked about this a lot in one of my videos. Do you have to gain strength in order to gain weight? Hey, how are you? Hey, good, good, good. You want to be in the video? You want to be in a video? You can be like dancing in the background. I can put some music on and whatever, you know. So Dan the Guitar Man's asking me, do you have to gain strength to gain muscle? And I cover this in a video. Do you have to gain strength to gain muscle? Okay, that's what it's called. So anyway, he's asking about this because he says some bodybuilders are saying they don't care how much weight they lift, and he says they have a great physique, and then some powerlifters that don't have much of a physique are lifting a huge amount of weight. Well, here's the thing, okay? Powerlifting's first priority is lifting weight, first and foremost, and second, it's only lifting weight with 3 major lifts. It's not lifting weight with all these different muscle groups in the body, okay? So that's why you see a bodybuilder with much more arm development, much more rear delt development in a lot of cases. Sometimes they'll have more lat development because they're actually working on many different angles for the muscle. So they're saying, I want to get strong in all the angles of the muscle, but I don't want to get strong just in one type of movement, okay? If you just get strong in one type of movement, what you're saying is I want to be very efficient, but that doesn't mean that the strength of the muscle is necessarily better in a lot of ways. Sometimes it's just your coordination is so good. So that's why you sometimes can see people that are very efficient in powerlifting where they can lift more weight, but they don't need as much muscle to do it because they know how to fire the muscle at the right time, and they call it groove. This is called groove. When you have the right groove when you're lifting a weight, sometimes you can lift it very efficiently, and by doing so you're actually using less energy to lift the weight and less strength to do it because you're using just enough momentum at the right time in order to actually find that groove. And sometimes the arc of how you're lifting, like such a bench press from a powerlifter will lift towards the eyes, or a bench press from a bodybuilder will lift straight up. You know, because a bodybuilder wants to work the muscles. He wants the muscles to work hard to become stronger, where a powerlifter doesn't necessarily want that. A powerlifter wants to find the easiest possible groove to lift that weight, okay? So I've found a combination of both is necessary because you do need to get a better nervous system. You need to get a better and more efficient nervous system in order to lift more weight, and then you can choose how to lift it. So the bodybuilders do care how strong they get, they just don't care about lifting a certain amount of weight under a certain parameter, right? So what I'm saying is they want the muscle to get stronger from all angles, not just one perfect angle or one perfect easy groove. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same priority. So the bodybuilders are saying they don't care about how much weight they lift because they're saying that's not their first priority. The first priority is to work the muscle. The second priority is to use as much possible weight in that angle, okay? Where a powerlifter, they don't care about whether the muscle gets a workout or not. Their first priority is just lifting a heavier weight. So Powerful Living asks me, what do I think about training each muscle in different frequencies? So example, biceps every 3 days and quadriceps once every 7 days. I think that's a valid technique. I mean, some people have really strong muscle groups, so they don't feel the need to work them as often. And I know sometimes you get the vice versa thing. The muscle group you work the least gets the most results. Sometimes that happens too, right? So depending on what your reason, you know, sometimes you might have a few weak links. Say you have a bicep that's weak, maybe you have chest that's weak, maybe you have some delts that are weak, I don't know. But whatever groups are weak, you might feel guided to put more volume or more effort into them. I've seen some guys do this where they have really great leg development, but what happens is that their upper body's lagging behind. So sometimes they'll take a whole month off training legs and just dedicate all of their energy and all their recuperation ability towards training upper body to bring it up. This can work because, say for instance, you only have so much recovery ability, Well, if you only have so much recovery ability, you want to put that all into the area you want to build up, right? So if you're doing a lot of leg training and say you have a lot of leg mass in there and everything, and when you're doing a heavy squat workout and stiff legged deadlifts and all this kind of stuff, your body's taking a certain portion of that recovery ability and putting it into the leg. Well, that's a certain amount of recovery ability that's not going to your weaker body parts, such as in the upper body, right? So one valid technique sometimes can be not training some muscle groups that you know you're extremely strong in and just focusing all the recuperation ability onto those weak links. Now, it's not something I've done that often, but sometimes during injuries or during, like say you have a broken bone or something, sometimes you're forced to do this, right? And over almost 3 decades of me training, there have been a lot of little catastrophes along the way and stuff where I was forced just to train certain body parts. And funny enough, those body parts would come up really quick because all the recuperation was going just to that area. And I've also seen some guys do this with their training. They would choose to just train back for a whole month. Sometimes they just train one body part and that's all they train. And they overtrain the crap out of it for 1 month to bring it up and then leave everything else out, right? So sometimes this is another technique to kind of break through some plateaus and shock the system. So yeah, if you feel guided to do this, try it out and see what works and see if it helps you, you know, bring up some of these weaker body parts. But as a technique, to stay with all the time, I think that you should change things up depending on what's going on. If you feel that your legs aren't developing from training them once a week and you need them to develop, then you'd have to change things up. So you're gonna have to actually conduct an experiment on this and see, but it isn't a crazy technique, let's put it that way. It's not a crazy thing to do. So Jim Dano, my regular contributor here on the comment section. So Jim Dano's asking, what should I do? He says he's training and he only has 2 days a week to work out because he's so busy with the work schedule with Christmas and everything coming up. And I do hope, Jim, that you're busy buying me Christmas presents, and that is why you can only get to the gym 1 day a week or 2 days a week. Actually, better yet, just get to the gym 1 day a week. You need an extra day for shopping for Christmas presents for me. No, anyway, seriously, if you only have 2 days to train, honestly, yeah, there are some people out there that are big proponents of the whole day workout and all this kind of stuff, and I'm constantly getting emails from people saying, what do you think about this 2-day workout shit and whatever. The bottom line is that it depends on you, okay? It always depends on you. So I'm not here to propitiate any sort of bullshit and dogma and say, you know, train this way or train that way. What you have to do is just be honest with yourself of how does your body work? That's the most important thing. That's the starting thing, okay? And I know, Jim, just from one of your comments, you said that you noticed that if you don't train for 4 or 5 days in a row and then you come back to train, it's almost like it's really tough and it's hard to get in the groove, and perhaps it feels a little bit achy or weird or whatever. And that's what I found. If I go 5 days without training, I gotta be careful when I come back for that 1 day. One thing I would do if I was doing only 2 workouts a week, I would do a whole body workout. I would do all the body parts. I would probably spend 2 to 3 hours in the gym that day. Probably bring protein shakes with me and branched chain amino acids and whatever to have during my workout so that I can, you know, do that long endurance workout. And I'd probably kick the shit out of myself in the gym. But the thing is, I would be careful with the rep ranges. I would be careful with the ranges of motion, and I would listen to my body all the way through, okay? That's the most important thing. The thing is that you might have to settle for just maintaining at this point. And that is okay. You know, every athlete, like I said, goes through periods of high intensity to make gains, and then sometimes they go through an active rest period. So what that means is you just go through maintenance workouts. Now, the other way you could approach it, now one way that I probably would do if I only had 2 days a week to work out, is I would work out those 2 days just like I'm normally working out. Probably the weight would be lower, or I'd be in higher rep ranges just to be careful, right? Because I find if I'm not primed and not coordinated and I haven't trained a lot, it's sometimes a shock to the body, so the potential for injury is there a little bit more. But what I would do is I would train each day, you know, maybe doing a whole body workout or half a body workout, whatever it is, whatever split you're on. And then I would try my best on the other days just to get maintenance workouts in of 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes. I know you're probably exhausted after 14 hours at work and your commute and whatever else you're doing. But what I would do is just take some light dumbbells and do slow movements, you know, whether it's some bench presses in my garage or some arm curls, or stop at the gym and just do a light set of leg presses or something just to get the blood going. I would strongly encourage this, even if it's body weight stuff. I would strongly encourage you finding some way to get little ways to get your blood going during the week, whether it's before your shift, whether it's during your shift, whether it's after your shift. I mean, everybody has a lunch break, everybody works, you know, even when you're doing construction. Like, I believe you are doing construction. If you're doing construction, the funny thing is that if you are lifting all day, you don't have to worry too much about getting only 2 workouts in, because you are actually still working some muscles and getting that blood flowing. So that might actually protect you, right? So again, this is another factor. It's another variable. If you're moving all the time, if your work requires you to use physical energy and muscles, then 2-day-a-week workouts, 2 days a week might be enough for you to make gains, because you're getting the blood flowing and you're actually using some of these muscles, right? If I was using all forearms and biceps at work and front delts, then maybe when I did decide to go to the gym on those easy days, I'd make sure I get an extra set of legs in, or extra set of maybe some lats or something that you don't work at the construction site, right? That's some general ideas, but you're gonna have to feel your way through this. So don't worry too much. Worst case scenario, just take this as an active rest time, and then you can be hitting the gym hard once your work slows down a little bit, right? Joe LeBlue is asking about natural testosterone boosters. The thing is that everybody's obsessed with testosterone boosters and all this kind of crap, but I don't mean to sound negative or anything, but I think honestly, hormones are a reflection of a lot of things that are going on inside you. So if your hormones are really low or out of balance, I think you'd be better off looking at what stress level you're under, and how to manage that. What vitamin deficiencies do you have? Take a look at that. What food are you eating? Take a look at that. These are the things that you should be really looking at and paying attention to, rather than looking for a supplement to mask some type of lifestyle choice that's causing you to have low testosterone production, okay? Maybe it's a mindset, See, a lot of people mix up the body. They think the body is just a bunch of random accidents and things in there, but the truth is that what you decide to do with it, the way you think, the way you feel, and what you eat, and all this will affect all of the systems in the body. We all know stress kills. So if you know that, then perhaps there's some changes that can produce the opposite effect. If stress kills, maybe the opposite will create health, right? So I'd say look at that stuff first. All this other stuff I find is just trends and things, and sometimes it might work for some people. Sometimes these tribulus type supplements and stuff might work, but more often than not, I find a lot of people that ask me these questions, they're not really doing their homework when it comes to diet. They're not really doing their homework when it comes down to managing their stress levels in their life and their sleep and all this sort of thing. And kind of like my friend Wayne at the gym, I put him on a diet. He's like, oh, I'm losing so much weight. I'm like, yeah, but you're losing body fat. That's what you're supposed to be doing. I mean, you're a bodybuilder. You're not a fat builder. You know what I mean? And then he's, sneaking granola bars in his bag and eating them during his workout all the time.
That does not look like a protein bar. That does not look like a protein bar.
I beat my blood sugar.
Oh, yeah, sure. You're carbon up on shit again.
Blood sugar.
Yeah, blood sugar.
Protein bar.
Yeah, what kind of protein bar is it?
There's a little bit of chocolate in it.
What's it called?
I don't know.
Quaker? If it has Quaker on it, it's not a protein.
Quaker, it's good, right? Name
Yeah.
brand?
If it's Quaker, it's not a protein bar.
Oh, where's the cross? Quaker wouldn't lie to me, would he?
And there's a lot of choices you make, and this will influence what type of hormones are secreted in your body. And as a natural bodybuilder, your food and your lifestyle choices are what are going to dominate you and cause you to have a certain hormone level and profile in your system, okay? And then sometimes there are toxins that are, no fault of your own, sometimes heavy metal toxicity, all this kind of stuff that you can talk to a naturopath about and get some guidance on. But these things will affect your hormone levels and how healthy your whole body is, right? So Bled Torres is asking me, he goes, would it be smart to upper, lower 2 times a week? I don't know. You guys, come on. If you're gonna make a comment, can you just write it out? Like, do a spell check or something so I can read this thing. So anyway, he's saying basically if he does training upper body and lower body 2 times a week, and basically train his whole body 2 times a week, but split it 2 different days. And he says 1 time low rep and another day high rep, would that be a good way to train? And yeah, if you guys watch my vlogs, seriously, watch my vlogs, watch what I do. Watch what I do. Just watch. Just spend the time. I'm putting it right there in front of you. You don't need to ask me a specific question. I know that that's what YouTube's kind of about, but seriously, you're gonna learn a lot if you just watch what I do. Feel yourself into me, see what I'm doing, and you will actually absorb all this information. Yes, varying the rep ranges is good. Heavy days is good, light days is good, medium weight days is good, failure days is good, and then not failure days is good. You know, where you're doing heavy weight and you're just nervous system training. I'm doing all these different types of training on my channel. Sometimes I'm choosing certain rep ranges. Sometimes I'm choosing certain range of motion. Sometimes I'm not doing a huge range of motion. Sometimes I'm doing a really small range of motion. This is all necessary to grow muscle because each thing will have a different weak link and stimulate different parts of your body to grow. So this is what I'm doing. For sure, yes, you're on the right track. High reps, low reps. It doesn't matter which order you put it in. One day you might do the high rep day first and then the low rep day the second. And another time you might do the, you know, vice versa. But most importantly, whatever your body feels good with, your joints feel good, you don't feel like you're injured or anything, that's the way that's right for you. You know, sometimes if people go right into a heavy day, say they take 3 days off and they go right into a heavy day, sometimes they actually get joint pain from that because it's almost like their body's uncoordinated and they're not ready for it. So sometimes people like that will benefit from doing a higher rep day first and then having a day or so rest and then going right back at it again and then doing a heavy day, right? Once the groove is perfected. Okay, so that's a case. That's one case where you would want to make sure you do high reps first. So Picker Dinner's asking what size the t-shirts go up to. They go up to 5XL, right? So basically you can get some pretty big shirts and tank tops and stuff. I find if you take extra large t-shirt, then you probably are going to take a large tank top or even a medium, because the tank tops seem to be a little bit bigger than the t-shirts as far as sizing goes. But on the website, on my website there, if you click on the t-shirt site, it's down below, the link's down below for the t-shirts. When you're on the site, they actually have a sizing sort of thing, so you can actually measure and see what shirt fits you properly, right? So just check that out. So Shredder's asking me like almost a medical question. He's saying when he bench presses with dumbbells, he often gets very lightheaded, right to the point where he basically gets dizzy and all that. And it only happens on the heavier sets. And he thinks it might be because he's holding the dumbbells on his thighs and it's basically cutting off blood flow or circulation or something. I think it's probably because you're holding your breath. That's the most logical, easiest explanation. If you're holding your breath when you're lifting the dumbbells and you're straining to get them in place, you might be getting dizzy just from the increased blood pressure from that. But ultimately, I'm not a doctor or anything, so I can't really give you advice, but the other things that might be happening if this is happening in other areas of your life is that iron deficiency could be possible. There could be a blood pressure problem of some sort, you know, low blood pressure even, and all sorts of other things that could be happening. So I'd get checked out by a doctor to see if your blood pressure and everything's fine. Most likely you're just holding your breath when you're doing it because you're doing the heavier weight and you're straining just to hold everything in place, and then by doing so you're almost putting your lights out, right? So that's probably what's happening. So Steve West asked me what my definition of low reps is and my definition of high rep. Low reps to me, and I know this is going to be weird because some of you guys think low reps is always 3 reps or 5 reps, but low reps is around 14 and lower. You know, 14 reps and lower is about, you know, in that range. You know, really low reps, most of the time when I'm saying low reps is below 8, but it just depends on the exercise. So for instance, if I'm doing squats, I will tend to say 10 reps is still heavy weight on squats. But say I'm doing arm curls, I'll say 6 reps because it's based on the danger of the exercise. So that's why I'm giving you a general number here. So when I say low reps, it's anything below 14. When I say high reps, it's 15 and over. That's usually what I'm saying, okay? Okay, so another medical question, which I'm not qualified to answer, but I'll just try to give you a suggestion based on my own experience. Olaf Olafsson is saying that when he does chest exercises with, you know, heavy dumbbells, he can't breathe, or he's having some breathing problems. So what most likely is happening here is you've got a rib out. You know, one of your ribs might be out of place. And when you're trying to, you know, the diaphragm's trying to do what it does and you're flexing the chest and everything, it's just basically making it a little bit more heightened. You know, that experience or that symptom is becoming more heightened and you're having trouble breathing because you're trying to expand the chest and the rib is kind of constricting that. So I'd say go visit a doctor first and foremost, make sure nothing serious is going on. But you know, if everything else checks out, then go see a chiropractor and get your ribs put back in place, because I think that's probably what it is. You may also have a serratus trigger point, which is one of the muscles underneath the chest here, and sometimes if that muscle's spasmed up, it might be tweaking your rib or pulling it a little bit out of place and causing some breathing restriction, right? So Ruben9122, and I answered this in a video actually, so I made a whole video on this, but yeah, just for short I'll answer it here, but if you want to check out the video, it'll be on my site here pretty quick. He goes, did I ever train with lockout techniques? And he says, you know, is constant tension the best for results? You know, what I do, just so you guys know, anything I do, I'm automatically telling you this is the best for results. I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't the best for results. Like, do you think I just do stuff just because I think it's the worst for results? Like, That's what doesn't make sense. The best for results is what I'm doing. So if you want to be like me, if you want to copy what I'm doing, then just watch what I do in my vlogs and you'll see I believe in what I do. I'm not doing it because I think it's all a bunch of crap. Okay, just so you know, all right? In case there's any misunderstanding on that, what he's saying is constant tension the best for results? And yes, because as a bodybuilder, what are you training? You're training the muscles. Your joints are the last line of defense between you and your limb actually snapping right off, all right? The muscles are the first line of defense, okay? So the muscles are what you're training when you're a bodybuilder. You're actually looking to train your muscles and get them stronger, and they recover. Your joints don't recover as fast. Your joints only recover at like 5 to 10% the rate, and the joints aren't meant to take the beating, okay? The muscles were designed to protect the joints originally, right? That's why we don't walk around just with our legs still totally hyperextended. I mean, you don't walk around like, you know, like your legs are like, watch. You bend your legs, see? You bend your legs. Why is that? Well, try jumping up and down on your legs and keeping your legs locked, and be ready to call 911 after you do it a few times, right? Common sense. This is why you don't lock your joints out. This is why you don't lock your joints when you weight train, because you will snap them, you will break them. This is the basis of jiu-jitsu. The reason why jiu-jitsu works is because they lock your joints out and they snap them in half. That's why you don't do this with weight training. It's actually pretty obvious. If you need to learn the hard way, then I don't recommend it, but most of us do learn the hard way, and then we never lock the joints out ever again. So yes, you want to keep that tension on the muscle, not the joints. So John Camp is asking, he goes, you know, as you get older, is it possible to make muscular gains? Because, you know, everybody wants to feel like they're old when they're only, you know, you got another 40 years left in you. You said you're 38, John? You got another 40 or 50 years left in you. So don't give up yet, you know, don't give up. The thing is that you say you were stronger when you're younger, but there are a lot of reasons why you're measuring that strength. Sometimes you were fatter, and sometimes when you're fatter, you move more weight. But does that mean you're stronger? I've talked about this. Not necessarily. Sometimes your muscles are actually stronger now, but you were able to move more weight before because you were heavier. Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes you also have some joint injuries that are going on that's causing some instability. And when that instability is there, sometimes that will cause you to be a little bit weaker. But it doesn't mean the muscle's necessarily weaker. It just means you're pushing less weight because now your muscle has to come up with more force to stabilize the joint as well as move the weight, okay? So those two things out of the way. That said, you can still make muscular gains, right? You can still make gains. You don't need to just give up, right? Do I still make gains? Yes, I do. I'm making gains all the time. You're seeing it in my videos. The reason why I'm making gains though is because I prioritized and changed my diet around and said, okay, now I'm gonna make gains right now. I'm gonna take this crap seriously. And rather than just eating my 100 grams of protein a day, I'm going to eat my 170 or whatever and really focus my diet towards a goal for a bit, because it's fun for me to do. So that's kind of why I'm doing this, is to kind of give you guys a little bit of incentive to believe in yourself, because I firmly believe you can continue to make gains. And I trained a lot of guys that were like 45, 50 years old, and they were not in good shape when I started training them, but they were in great shape by the time I was done with them. So you can make gains. You can. So don't believe the general sort of aging bullshit that people put out there. I mean, we got mileage. I believe in mileage. Like I said in the comment, I do believe in mileage. Some of us have some rough mileage. We've been through some injuries, you know, I 100% support that. I know that. But you're not dead yet. At 40, you're not dead. And the thing is that you can still make gains. So keep going, John. Don't give up on me yet. Okay, Professor Phillip is asking, do I believe that ab workouts are necessary to get lean? And I'd say no, they're not. They're not even close to necessary to get lean. They're not even a requirement on any standard to get lean. I think they're just a trendy sort of thing because people are obsessed with seeing their abs, because somehow it's become a benchmark for if you're in shape or not. But you know, there have been times where I had great abs in my life where I know I wasn't in good shape. If you put me in a hockey team and get me to skate back up and down the ice, you would have seen how bad a shape I was in cardio wise, right? So what does in shape mean, really, you know? So it's just a game that people are playing. I barely ever trained abs. All I did was do tricep press downs and do core work by squatting and deadlifting and bent over rowing. I sucked my stomach in, and that works the abs, you see? So when you're doing these compound movements, you know, especially when you're not wearing a belt. Like I don't wear a belt when I do lifts, you know? A lot of these guys on the internet, they're doing knee sleeves, they're wearing the belts, they're doing all this kind of crap, you know? Well, every time they do that, they're not using as many muscle groups, right? Because now there's a few muscle groups they don't need to actually activate in order to stimulate the stability, right? They don't need to stabilize themselves. So when I don't wear knee wraps, guess what? The reason why I'm not wearing them is because I want to know if I'm bouncing off my joints on the bottom, that means I shouldn't be going that low. That means, you know, if I need to wear knee wraps, my body's already telling me that there's something going on, that there's an inflammation happening, right? So it's the same thing with the spine. When my spine is feeling off and stuff, if I have to wear a belt, perhaps that means that my core is not strong enough to stabilize my spine, and I want to know that. And although I don't want to make it the weak link in my squatting and everything, I do firmly believe that working the core is good when you use it in compound movements. So yeah, I work my core all the time when I'm squatting. I work my core all the time when I'm deadlifting. I work my core all the time when I'm bent over rowing. So I don't feel the need to actually be doing ab workouts. The other thing is that I want to make sure my core is strong when I actually do squat, so that way I don't pull my back out. Because if you wear your abs out, you know, if they're all tired and fatigued and sore, and then you go to do a heavy squat workout or something, you could blow your back out, right? Because your abs do help stabilize the spine, so they are necessary. But yeah, I've never needed to train abs in order to make them look lean or anything. That's never been a requirement. That's true. It's really just fat loss. It's really just fat loss, you know? So if you have your diet in check and your training in check overall, your abs are going to show anyway. You don't necessarily need to train them. But again, there's nothing wrong with training them. It just, for me and for my frame, it didn't feel right. William Hall is saying, is it him or am I uploading more videos than normal? Yeah, I'm trying to upload a video almost every day, if not every second day. You know, so I'm trying to really make sure that I have a lot of content for you guys, because I'm honored that some of you actually enjoy it. So I'm trying to put up as much as I can to help you out, and I'm having fun with the process. So let me know what you want to see, and yeah, you can always unsubscribe if you don't want to see it, I guess. So Jim Daniel's asking, you know, what am I doing with my workout routine right now? Basically what I'll do is whole body workouts 2 to 3 times a week, and then I'll split the body in half and do the other days like half a body, you know, half my body, and then the other day the other half of my body, like chest, back, and biceps, and then the next day the legs, shoulders, and tris. And I'll just vary it up basically on how I feel. So I'm not, you know, married to any one way. Another thing I'm doing is I'm increasing volume on a lot of body parts because I have to increase intensity, and there's different ways to increase intensity. One is frequency, one is weight, one is volume, you know. So basically volume I'm not messing around with too much, or I haven't, so I have to explore that territory as well in order to actually get my muscles to respond in different ways. So yeah, so I'm going into, you know, sometimes 10 sets for a body part, or 8 sets some days, not all the time, but just here and there as I feel guided. If I have a lot more gas in the tank to really push that muscle to make sure it's forced to adapt, right? So like I said, that's why it's important to be open. It's important not to be too dogmatic and not too stuck in one way, because sometimes what works for your body 1 minute might not work the next. So you have to kind of change and adapt as you go, and let your body kind of guide you through the process. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. Okay, Sadek Stevens said, could I make a video about how to train around wrist injuries? I made a video actually on wrist injuries. And basically, a lot of times what's happening with the wrist is not always, you know, horrible or whatever. Sometimes it's just your metacarpals are out of place. I suggest seeing a chiropractor about that. A lot of times that's the case. Other times you might be, you know, doing the whole freaking Karate Kid thing. When you're doing dumbbell raises or laterals, you're doing this with your wrist. You know, you start doing this kind of crap, or, you know, twisting your wrist all these weird ways, you're going to start inflaming your wrist up. So sometimes it's a technique thing. Other times it could be some trigger points or some muscle knots in your forearms that need to be addressed. You know, so those are some simple techniques or simple things that you can check into, and that's what I'd recommend at first, if there's no other medical problem going on, right? So Shredder, you're asking me another question about how to grow an upper body if you have no trouble making leg gains, but your upper body's lagging behind. I talked about this earlier in this video. Actually, you might be one of those candidates that says, hey, I'm not gonna train legs for a whole month. I'm just training upper body. I'm just gonna concentrate on that. It could be an experiment that would be worth conducting for you to see if you take all that recovery that you've been putting into your leg training and actually put it into your upper body. And if you want to just train your legs once a week or whatever, you can do that too. But if I were you, I'd start concentrating on the parts that you really want to hit, and increasing volume and all this kind of stuff in there, and just spend all your energy on that and see what happens. Shoot 'em up's asking me if why don't I start uploading more videos, like 2 videos a day or something. Honestly, man, I wouldn't have any time to sleep. Like it takes me about 3 hours sometimes to put together a workout vlog, if not more, sometimes 4 with the real-time kind of workouts, because I'm adjusting the audio levels and everything. And yeah, by the time I'm done shooting and filming and then editing and then making the music and everything, yeah, it would take me forever. There's no way I'd be able to do 2 videos a day unless they were really short, easy ones. But yeah, let me know, guys, what you want to see, and then yeah, I'm not saying I'll never do that, but they would be a different type of video if I was going to do that kind of format, right? And at the same time, I'm trying to keep you guys from getting bored of what I'm doing, you know? Like sometimes if I upload 2 videos in a day, or 2 videos even back to back, like one day and next day, sometimes you guys don't even get a chance to check your inbox. So you're not even seeing the first video by the time I'm hitting you with the next, right? So based on the way YouTube works and based on the way they send out videos and notifications when the videos come up, sometimes, you know, I want to make sure people are actually seeing the videos if I'm going to produce them, right? So if you guys watch them, I'll make them. That's I guess that's the point, yeah. Okay, Venkatesh Ramaya is asking about, and I made a video for you, okay? So the video is going to be coming up soon. I made an actual video for you, but he's asking about if he goes on a caloric surplus, he gets a pot belly. And if he goes on a caloric deficit, then he just gets skinny, right? So he's saying, you know, how do I, how's he supposed to address this? You know, he can't bulk because when he bulks, he just puts on fat. Well, the thing is that you can't bulk. I mean, if bulking put on muscle automatically, all I could do is just go eat donuts. You know, I could just go eat pizza and donuts all day, and then I'd get fatter and bigger, but I wouldn't get more muscular, right? So as a bodybuilder, what you're trying to do is find out how to get more muscular. So what you have to do is figure out what foods feed muscle and what foods feed fat stores, and you lower the foods that feed the fat stores and you increase the foods that feed the muscle, right? That's really what I did with my diet this last little while, and you guys have seen some of the results in my physique lately. I lowered the calories through carbs, I lowered them through the fats, you know, and I upped protein, right? Your problem is that you think bulking is actually putting on muscle, but bulking is just getting fatter, okay? So bulking is kind of a loose term that a lot of people don't understand, but real bulking has to do with gaining muscle and then accidentally maybe putting on a little bit of fat, but not that much. And this is what is required. You need to choose the right foods in order to do this. So when I'm on a supreme cut, say my first priority is getting lean, sometimes I have to be open to the fact that I might lose a little bit of muscle because I'm going lower in the energy calories and I might accidentally lose, you know, a few pounds of muscle. But that is not the ideal scenario. What I want to do is hold on to as much muscle as possible. So in a bulk, the opposite is true. You want to put on as much muscle as possible, and then by accident, maybe you put on some fat, but you don't concentrate on putting on fat. So a lot of guys, when they bulk, they're thinking, oh, I'm going to put on a lot of fat. Well, guess what? That's all you're going to do is just get fat. It's not going to lead you to more muscle in a lot of cases, right? So I think a lot of times the bulking is just a glorified excuse for people to eat crappy. And I agree with it sometimes because it can be fun, but it's not necessarily going to produce the result you want, right? So anyway, I made a video for you, so check that out when I upload it, so stay tuned for that, okay? RBZ Daw, okay? He's asking about how to isolate muscle groups if you only have access to free weights. And yeah, besides the, you know, the one movement, like say you're doing chest and you're doing flies, that's supposedly how to isolate the chest. The biggest way to isolate something is range of motion, okay? Changing the range of motion. That's how you will isolate one muscle over another, is the range in which you use. So a lot of people are making fun of my range. They're like, Jason, you're crazy. Why are you doing that range? And I'm like, well, because this is what works the muscle I want to hit, you see? So that's the thing you got to learn, is there are different ranges of the motion where you'll hit different parts. And in this vlog coming up soon, I will be showing you directly how I do this. And I actually made a video about this as well. So this video is coming up as well, how to isolate body parts. So this will be coming up, so check it out. I'll be showing you a couple exercises in which I apply this principle so you can see it firsthand. So Jim Dano's asking me again, okay, Jim, my God, Jim, my God. I'm moving into your house, Jim. I'm moving in because that way you can ask all the questions. So anyway, Jim's asking, he goes, how long would I give myself to lean up for a competition? Typically speaking, 12 weeks is a standard lean time, you know, a lean up time. But depending on how long you've been out of action or not, sometimes you want to give yourself longer than that to make sure that you kind of know what you're doing, because your body might respond differently than it did 5 years ago or 3 years ago or since the last time you competed. So I find anywhere from 3 to 4 months is perfect for a competition, because you want to lose body fat at the slowest possible rate. You know, some people try to lose body fat like 2 pounds a week and all this. It's impossible to lose it too fast and without losing muscle. Like if you lose too much fat too quick, you're gonna lose some muscle for sure. So you wanna do this over a longer period of time. That way you can guarantee that you're gonna keep more muscle tissue. And he's also asking, how long would I up my intake of food for the goal of mass, you know? So basically, when I'm not on a cut and I'm trying to increase muscle tissue, I don't worry about bulking as much as just eating the foods that feel right to me, you know? So I would increase my energy foods through fats and some carbs here and there, you know, but ultimately I find out, do I feel good in the gym? Do I feel energetic? Do I feel like I'm getting a pump? Do I feel like I'm bloated or gonna puke when I'm in the gym? You know, then I know I ate too much. Am I putting on body fat primarily? You know, if I'm putting on too much body fat, then I know I'm eating too many calories through you know, weight gain type foods like fats and carbs, okay? The goal is of gaining mass is really to gain the right type of mass. That's the thing. A lot of people don't ask themselves that question. What type of mass are you gaining? And if you're gaining fat mass, that means you're not doing the bulk right. You know, you want to be gaining a higher percentage of muscle as opposed to fat, okay? Although when you do gain some muscle and you want to make sure there's enough of a surplus there, you will gain some fat by mistake, but the primary goal is not to gain fat, right? So how long would I do it for? I don't know, forever. That's how I train all the time, you know? Because ideally, if you gain more muscle mass, you will increase your metabolism, and then you will end up leaner because your metabolism's faster, you see? And so you shouldn't be putting on too much fat. The only time guys need to really kind of have lean cycles and mass cycles is as, you know, 4% body fat to get on stage. Like, nobody walks around at that percentage, not for a long period of time, okay? Not natural bodybuilders, that's for sure. So unless of course you have a really fast metabolism and all this, you know, other parameters I'm not going to get into, but the bottom line is that most people will never walk around at that percentage, and nor is it healthy to. You know, your body does need a little bit of a, you know, buffer, right? So that's why there's a cutting phase. It's only really for competition, but it's not necessarily for lifestyle, you know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean you couldn't maintain a pretty lean body fat percentage all year round and have good energy and still continue to put on muscle mass at that body fat level. Like, you could still put on muscle mass at 8% body fat or 10% body fat, right? Some people think you got to be like 15 or 20% body fat to put on muscle mass. You don't, you know? I find a little bit leaner is actually better for putting on muscle. And it's also better for understanding how your diet's affecting you, because sometimes when you have this water layer, you can't really tell what's bloating you, what's not. It's a little bit harder to tell with your physique. So yeah. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, Venkatesh Ramaya is asking how I got a thick neck. I covered this in my latest workout vlog where I'm doing some bent over lateral raises, and you can see how I'm doing the bent over lateral raise that really emphasizes the trap and really emphasizes the neck and the rear delt and the rotator cuff, okay? That's one of the main exercises I did for neck muscles. I didn't ever do shrugs. I never did shrugs. Like, a lot of people are obsessed with shrugs because it's a good ego movement, right? You get to put a lot of plates on there and just, you know, jump up and down with it, but I never did that. I found that movement actually a waste of time for me in a lot of ways. Although it might work for some other people because of the way I'm built, it just doesn't seem to work for me. And also heavy bent over rows. So heavy bent over rows is definitely another part of it, right? So thanks a lot for tuning in to the Friday Q&A. That's about it for me today. And stay tuned for some videos that I will be making and answering some of your questions individually in actual videos, okay? And make sure you tune in and visit me at naturalgallantbodybuilding.com, and take care for now.